Hey guys, welcome to episode number 586. And as you can see, I have no aquariums in my fish room. Stay tuned for more. Hey guys, welcome to episode number 586. Today is Monday, so it's Update Monday. And yes, as you can see, all of the aquariums have left the fish room. This is not the beginning of the end. This is the end of the beginning, because this summer we are completely renovating the fish room. That's right, if you've been paying attention, you know that I am ready to install an entire wall of Zoomed 50-gallon Lowboy tanks down here in the fish room. But before I could do that, I had to remove all of the 40-gallon tanks and the stand that was down here in the basement. That has been accomplished now, so let's take a look around the room to see what's changed, what's staying, what's going away, and what the plans are to completely renovate this fish room this summer. But before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you want to help support this channel, you can go check out myaquariumbox.com and betaoasis.com. Alright guys, obviously some big changes have happened down here, so it's gonna take a while to go through this and explain it. We've also got some stuff to look at outside because the fish did not go away, they just moved locations. So, come along with me and learn how to be a better aquarist. Alright guys, obviously the view down here has changed. The turtle stock tank has not moved, although it will, but all of our 40-gallon breeder aquariums are gone. I was able to list those on Craigslist, and they went to a really nice guy who actually came to pick them up on Father's Day, of all days. And he was a scientist who sold a company and wanted to start a hobby instead. So looks like fish keeping is that hobby, and so I'm hoping that he gets a lot of life and a lot of enjoyment out of the 40-gallon breeder stand and tanks that I so lovingly put together down here in the fish room. Now, he took everything. He took the stand, he took the 8 40-gallon tanks, all of the drain plumbing, and 2 of the 55-gallon barrels. So the only thing that's still set up here is the 300-gallon stock tank with its filtration system, and then we've got a drain line going all the way against the wall here for our wastewater sump barrel, which is still located over there. But everything else is gone. You can see we've still got the air lines on the ceiling. We've still got some of our plumbing hanging up here. And actually all I had to do was cut my plumbing in just, I think, 2 or 3 spots here. And I was able to take everything out pretty successfully and modularly. So that worked out really well. And the only modification I had to make down here was to put a cap on here. This was the line that came, the drain line that came from the other 2 barrels that were located right here. So all of the tanks are gone. The fry rack will be taken apart. The fiddler crab tank will be taken apart. And the turtle stock tank may need to move somewhere else during our renovation project, because it's been 5 years since we set up this fish room and it's time for a change. In a way, it's sad that all of this is gone, that it's ripped out, but it was completely my decision. I could have stayed here and kept the same rack that I had set up in this location, but it came to a point where I wanted something new. I wanted to optimize how it's set up, how it operates, and in order to do that, I wanted to move on to a tank that I completely fell in love with, which is the 50-gallon Zoomed Lowboy tank. I think it's great for breeding a lot of fish, for small species of turtles, aquatic newts, all kinds of fun and exciting stuff that I'm hoping to feature on this entire wall. And so when I say this entire wall, I mean all the way from this wall. We'll probably have some filtration barrels, but we'll have a stand running all the way along this wall, and it will probably stop somewhere around here. And I've shared those plans in the past, and now I'm ready to start implementing it. The biggest thing that was standing in my way were these 40-gallon breeder tanks, and it is sad that they're gone, but they were in the way. Like, they were stopping me from doing the next thing. They were stopping me from advancing in my hobby, and so I decided it was time. 5 years of everything being set up, not once did any of these tanks leak. I was super satisfied with how they worked, and I probably bred at least a few thousand fish over the last 5 years in those tanks, if not more. I mean, you know, endlers, they breed like crazy. So we had plenty of success with that system. We had a little less success with this fry rack, just because the return lines got plugged up a little bit too often. But we'll bring this back at a later point in time in a different format. But that's coming off the wall. The fiddler crab tank is pretty much expired at this point. That's going to move outside with all the other fish. We'll take a look at the fish in a few minutes, because all of those are still in my possession. They've just moved out to the greenhouse for an outdoor summer trip in the greenhouse. And all that we have left down here to look at the moment is this turtle stock tank. But even this needs to be slid away from the wall, so it needs to be drained down completely, and all of my filtration needs to be pulled away from that wall to give me total access to this entire wall to begin to renovate the fish room. Now, I've been thinking about possibly refinishing the floor. I don't know how ambitious I'm going to get, but what we are going to do is build a completely new stand to house our 50-gallon Zoomed Lowboy tanks. Again, it's like 4 feet long, 2 feet deep, and only 10 inches tall. So we're going to be able to stack 3 of those tanks on top of each other in this space, and we're going to get, I believe, a total of 12 tanks along this wall. So it's going to be impressive. It's going to be an entire wall of water, and it's going to be a fantastic place for breeding fish. And I have quite a few ideas for upgrading all of my filtration and lighting and wastewater systems and return plumbing, air systems, all kinds of great stuff for this new build. And we'll walk through all of those things on a weekly basis as we reconstruct this fish room. But for now, it's a little sad, it's a little quiet, and it is very messy. So this is something we're going to continue to work on over the next few months here throughout the summer, and as we make progress on this, we'll keep shooting videos on it. But for right now, this is a look at the fish room without any fish tanks. And you might think I'm crazy for doing this, but the only way you can improve is to learn and then apply that knowledge to the next thing. And so for that reason, I felt that I needed to do this. I needed to make a change. And so that's what we're about to do. Let's head outside and take a look what's going on out there. Alright guys, we are outside with the plants and the pond, and these first 4 fabric planters that I planted are doing fantastic. We've got some really solid growth on the tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes, and then the summer squash and the zucchini are also doing well, and the beans are actually starting to flower already. So I would say that these 4 bins are doing pretty great. I'm hopeful that we actually get some fruit or some vegetables, I should say, and I'll spread these out as they continue to grow. Now, what's also exciting is I had extra fabric planters and I had cucumber seeds, and as you can see here, we've got some really tiny new growth. Some there, and some there. I planted 3 little holes full of cucumbers, and it looks like they're all starting to come up. Now it's been raining here for like the last week. It's probably going to continue to rain for the next week, and so I haven't watered these at all. They've just been getting plenty of rainwater, and it looks like we're going to get some cucumbers as well. So summer squash, zucchini, cucumbers, beans, tomatoes, all of these are doing fantastic out here in actual soil and in actual sunlight. It's amazing that just 1 or 2 feet of difference here outside the greenhouse versus inside the greenhouse is enough extra light to actually get these plants to grow pretty quickly. We've also got some random basil, cilantro, basil, rosemary, and more basil. So we'll see if those come in. It looks like we do have a little bit of green popping, so hopefully we got enough vegetables and herbs to last us all year. Slow going, but it's going. We got Marvin over here chilling out, and we've got quite a few updates to talk about over here in the pond area. Now, I did a 50% water change on this tub. It took a while, but I think it was worth it because it did start to clear up my algae issue. If you remember, last week we installed this Diatomaceous earth filter, and I had it up and running. The biggest problem that I found is that my pump wasn't strong enough to create enough pressure to keep the diatomaceous earth up against the fingers, the little filter sleeves that are inside this filter. So what happened was I dumped the diatomaceous earth in my pump, allowed that to slowly get carried up into the filter itself, coat the walls, but by that point the flow had already dropped considerably, and there's a couple reasons. One, this is designed for pools, and I've just got a pond pump in here, so the pump down here isn't strong enough to pump like the 6 or 8 feet up in the air and then pump through this filter and then up into the greenhouse when everything's installed in line. Now, what I ended up doing was I actually disconnected this filter, because what had happened was I was coming out here to hit this bump handle, hit the bypass valve, and blow water out of this pump to sort of clear it and recharge it. That was happening every day, once a day. And if I didn't do that, the water inside my return water manifold was just trickling into some of these tanks. In some cases, if I let it go for 2 days, it completely stopped. And I was afraid that I was going to burn my pump out and that I was going to create too much pressure inside this with nowhere for the water to really go. So, alas, I disconnected it. I haven't removed it. It's still sitting right here because I am still very much interested in using it, but I've kind of run out of ideas as to how I can make this work. As I said, the pond pump that's in there is fine. It's appropriately sized when there's no resistance in the way. And right now, what I did was I just connected my 2 tubes here with an elbow. It should probably be a straight connector, but it's an elbow because that's all I had. And the water is no longer running through here. It's just going straight up into my greenhouse, and the water flows just fine. We'll go take a look at it in a minute. But I did try a few different things to get this to work. The first thing I did was I put a couple milk crates down in there to raise the pump up a few feet in the water so that it didn't have as much head height to pump the water out. It worked a little bit, but I still ran into the same problem where I was cleaning this out every day, and that's not the point of a filter like this. I shouldn't need to clean that out every day. It's too much of a hassle for what I'm trying to do. So yeah, there's that. And I wasn't really interested in continuing that kind of rigorous maintenance in order to just get a trickle of water up in here. I considered buying a stronger pump, but as it is right now, the water that's going in there is blasting out of all of those inlets. So the only way I would buy a stronger pump for the pond is if I was to install a second set of bins on the opposite side of the greenhouse. Now, I'm not ready to do that yet, so for now I've just decided the easiest course of action is to disconnect this diatomaceous earth filter and call it a day. Unfortunately, these things happen, but it is a learning experience. So I don't know. If you guys have any ideas on what you think I should do, if you have any ideas on how to correct the problem, I'm up for listening to them. As I said, everything is still here. It can be reconnected. I didn't cut anything. I didn't destroy anything. It's still ready to go. So it's just sitting there for right now. I did consider using AlgaFix. I went out and picked this up because I was in a little bit of a panic as to my algae problems in the pond. And I thought this might be a solution, right? A quick fix. But silly enough, like, I didn't read the directions when I was in the store until I got home. And it looks like it's no good for invertebrates and crayfish and stuff like that, shrimp. And I do have crayfish, and I do have snails, and I do have vegetables growing. So I decided actually not to use this, at least not for now. So the short-term solution has been a very large water change, and we'll take a look at other things that I've done to help fix this problem once we go inside the greenhouse. But we've got some other things to look out here. We moved the water hyacinth out here. It's just sort of floating around, having a good time. I'm not sure if the current in here is a little too strong for this, if it's bumping around a little too much for this stuff to be happy long term, but we'll see. I can always turn the flow down a little bit. We also have 2 gigantic pieces of wood here. I'm not going to call it a driftwood because it's never been in the water before, but some really cool branches here, and I'm actually going to toss these into the center of the pond to see how they do. I think these are going to float for weeks, if not longer, before sinking. But maybe it will give a little shelter area for some of these plants to get away from some of that flow. And once they do sink, I think what I might do is cut the bases of these flat, and then maybe attach some slate to it so that those branches stick straight up out of the water. I think that'd be kind of a cool look. But these are left over from when I was putting in the greenhouse originally. There were some large shrubs, and these are the sticks, the branches that are left over from that, and they're a year old at this point. They've been drying out. They've gone through an entire winter, and I thought they'd be a nice accent to the pond out here, at least give it some more character for the short term. So that's our water hyacinth. Those are our giant sticks. We actually do have 3 dozen small, like 3 or 4 inch calico shabunkin goldfish in here, along with the original inhabitants which survived the winter. Those are just feeder goldfish. There's no way we're going to be able to see these guys today, and I'm sorry I didn't get footage of them when they came in. I just didn't have my camera out at the time, but they did acclimate well, and they are in here in the pea soup, and hopefully within the next week or two this water will be completely clear, and we'll be able to stick a GoPro down there and check it out. But we're starting to get a little bit of a habitat going in here by just adding some live plants and some wood. So I'm pretty happy with that. We also have some plants out here. We moved our dwarf banana plant out here, and this gigantic leaf here, it popped in like less than a week. So like this is new growth within the last week. It's sort of a lighter green than the rest of the leaves, and this thing is growing like gangbusters. So I think what I might do is, even though I just repotted this, I think what I'm gonna do is repot it again and separate the 2 or 3 plants that are in there into their own pots, and hopefully I can get more than 1 plant out of that guy. And then we've got our baby bonsais hanging out here by the pond. These things do amazingly well outside, and I'm hoping that they're gonna get enough sun, and I might need to water them every once in a while, but I got the pond right next door, so they should do well. This is the first one that I made, and he does have some yellowing going on, so I got to keep an eye on that. Again, I'm not sure if it's overwatering or underwatering, but this is why we test these things out. So that's a look at the pond and everything going on over here. Now, we are feeding 2 foods to the pond currently. We've got the My Aquarium box fancy koi pellets, and that adds color to your fish. And then we got the goldfish flake. 2 great foods for pond fish. So I just keep these outside here. They got zip bags, so they usually do okay in the rain. I don't know that I leave them out in torrential rain, but they do just fine. Alright guys, and we are back down in the basement, right about where my fish tanks should be, and I wanted to spend a minute talking about the ACA's annual convention. That's the American Cichlid Association's annual convention. This year, it's happening July 18th to the 21st at the Red Lion Inn in Cromwell, Connecticut. It's the exact same location where the NEC's convention was held this year, 2019, and I'm super excited that I will be going back to that venue for the ACA's annual convention. So excited that I have a list of 10 things that you should look forward to when you go and register for this show. Number 1, the speakers. They've got almost a dozen speakers. A lot of them are PhDs. They've devoted their life to talking about and researching fish. So definitely check out the speakers. Number 2 is the showroom. There are fish on exhibit, cichlids, show quality, prize quality cichlids on display. So definitely go check all those out and see which one is your favorite. Number 3 is the vendor room. There will be a ton of vendors there selling fish, selling plants, selling driftwood, selling fish food, selling everything you could possibly imagine. My aquarium box will be there as a vendor, so definitely come check out our booth, and I hope to see you there. Number 4, excursions. Whenever you go to shows like this, it's basically like a long weekend. You come with your friends, you come with your family, you come with your fish club folks, and they offer excursions. And this one particularly, there is an excursion to the Mystic Aquarium. So if you've never been to the Mystic Aquarium, this is a great opportunity to just like hop on a bus and go check out the aquarium for the day as part of the show. Number 5 is the Babes Silent Auction. A bunch of women in the aquarium hobby have gotten together to hold a silent auction every single year at the ACA's convention. So if you're at the show, definitely check that out, place a bid, and hopefully it goes to a good cause. Number 6 is the Biotope contest. I actually haven't had the pleasure of seeing this yet. I'm not sure how new it is, but it's a really interesting concept, and it's something that I want to see a lot more of in the future. Biotopes are when you take all of the driftwood, all of the rocks, all of the plants, all of the fish, all of the substrate, everything from a place in the world, and you put it into an aquarium as if it came out of nature. And you have to basically select the right fish, the right plants, the right wood. Everything has to be correct about a biotope in order for it to qualify. So it's everything that those fish would see in their actual natural habitat. Super cool to see. So I'm really looking forward to the Biotope contest. Number 7 is the photography and the art show. There are a ton of really spectacular people who take photos, who do artwork related to fish, and the ACA is celebrating those folks by having a photography and art show at their convention. So definitely go check that out. Maybe some of it will be for sale. Number 8 is a kids tank decorating contest. If you've got kids and you're gonna drag them out to the ACA for the weekend, then you might as well enter them into the kids decorating contest. It's great, they have a lot of fun, and I believe everyone gets to take home everything that they decorate with. So definitely check that out and register your kids in advance for that contest. Number 9 is the hospitality room. No convention would be complete without a hospitality room where you can hang out with all your fishy friends and tell all your fishy stories together. So definitely check out the hospitality room. And I hear the Red Lion Inn has a great hospitality room. And then number 10 is the giant Sunday auction. This is by far my favorite. And if you're not prepared to spend 3 or 4 days and register for the show and go see all of this awesome stuff, if you just have a few hours on Sunday, definitely check out the giant Sunday auction. You don't need to be a registered member of the show to attend it, and you will be able to walk in, probably peruse the vendor room before everyone closes up, and then attend the auction. Bring all of your fish, bring your livestock, bring your plants, bring your dry goods, bring everything that you have to this auction, and I'm sure you'll find something new, some new fish that you didn't have. It's a great way to get rid of stuff that you are breeding and find stuff that you've wanted to try. It's always a good time, and you will always find something that you want. So those are the 10 things to look forward to about the ACA's convention. If you want to register, I would suggest you go do it right now because time is running out. You definitely want to make sure you book your hotel and you get your registration ticket for the show. Again, it's July 18th to the 21st at the Red Lion in Cromwell, Connecticut. If you want to go register, all you have to do is go to anycichlids.org, click the registration button, click the convention store link, and then there you'll find a registration ticket. And if you want a free t-shirt at the show, all you have to do when you're filling out your registration ticket is when you're typing your name, you put your first name and your last name, and as your middle name, all you have to do is put YTGJ. And the first 10 people that come up to me in the vendor room with YTGJ on their badge, they're gonna get a free t-shirt. So if you want to go to the show, make sure to use the middle name YTGJ, and I hope to see you there.
All right, I promised we'd talk more about where all of the fish went and other strategies for clearing up all the green water. So we're at the greenhouse, and as you can see right away, we've got plenty of flow coming in the return manifolds now that our filter is no longer in line. So as much as I love the Diatomaceous earth filter, I like flow a little bit more. So for now, we've got flow. We've also got fish in every single one of these bins. So I've labeled them, and I've also reduced the number of trays, styrofoam trays, from 2 to 1 in each one of these tubs. And one reason is because there are fish in it, and I want airspace for gas exchange. I also want an area where I can throw fish food and feed these guys. And some of the rock wool cubes that I had started weren't growing all that well, and some of them still aren't growing all that well. So all of the underperformers, especially a lot of the lettuce, got tossed out, and so the stuff that's left is growing pretty well. You can see these beans are doing just as well as the ones outdoors, and I've even got this wire here that we got this beanstalk growing up, and it's flowering as well, so that's kind of cool. Hopefully we'll get more of that, and hopefully we'll get some beans out of some of those. We got the hot peppers here. Again, they're still pretty small, but they are sending off some new leaves, so that's good. Some of these may need to go, like a couple of the leaves got munched. I think that was a slug. But anyways, we've got plants in here. We got the tomatoes, we got the cilantro in the middle, we got the basil. They're all coming in. They're just growing incredibly slow. Now, if you compare the size of these to the ones that are outside in the soil, these are like less than half the size. So I would expect the ones outside to grow a lot faster because they're getting more light and they're probably getting more nutrients. But one of the things I did before I put the fish into all of these bins was I scooped out all of the waste. There was like a ½ inch of sludge in the bottom of each one of these bins, and I wasn't able to see it because of all of the green water that was going through it. But we removed it, and I think that's going to help eliminate one of the sources that was feeding all of the algae in the water. So that's good. And I am happy that the plants and the fish are now out here together in these bins. It just means a little less real estate to grow the plants. But if you recall, the lettuce wasn't doing that great. I saved the 3 best lettuces, which are back here, and they are growing lettuce leaves, and they are starting to sort of sprout upright, but there were way too many plants, they were way too leggy, and they weren't getting enough light early in their growth. So I did restart them, and here is the restarted seed. This is a week old, and what I'm gonna have to do now is trim these back so that it's only 1 or 2 sprouts per rock wool cube, and then I'll probably have to transplant those into some of these planters within the next few weeks. So look forward to that. We've got some floating baskets here with just some assorted plants. These are getting lost in some of the bins, and so I just wanted an easy way to look at them without losing them in the murkiness of these bins while they're still clearing up. So we got moss balls, we got all kinds of stuff, some banana plants. I did put some floating plants in this one, and that was just to protect it from the waves and stuff that was getting created by the return lines. As you can see, what happened is a lot of this stuff just gets pushed as far away as possible from that return, and some of it will do okay. I think some of it will end up dying as a result. So I just wanted like a backup plant area. Now what I did was I actually took these small Rubbermaid containers and I just drilled 2 holes in the sides, and then I put like a little piece of pool noodle on the side and just zip tied them. So there's no real water exchange going between these tubs other than, you know, me dumping water out and adding new water, which is easy enough to do. But these are just nice little floating tubs that I've created here just to house some of the stuff that I've got going on. And we've seen this one before, the sensitive plant. Again, he's in another floating planter here. And again, we got about 6 inches of growth, I would say, in the last few weeks out of these plants. So they're doing really well. We got more floating plants. We got some green beans in here. Some of them are floating, others have sunk. This tank has a bunch of plecos and a bunch of mystery snails. You can actually see quite a few of the mystery snails hanging out right along the top of this tub. So that's pretty cool. And I have installed all of these low profile overflow screens here, and they've been doing pretty well. They haven't clogged up yet, and so I'm happy with them. And then we got more tubs over here with more plants, some Java fern, assorted plants. We'll see what survives, and hopefully, like I said, the water will clear up within the next few weeks, and maybe I can plant some of them actually in the tubs as opposed to just floating on top of the tubs. And the biggest thing that I've picked up in the last week to help with the green water is a UV sterilizer. This is something that I knew I needed to buy at some point, and I've just been putting it off. I thought the Diatomaceous earth filter was going to be an easier way to go, less expensive to recharge, wouldn't have to buy expensive bulbs every season, but as it turns out, there's just too much green water to battle with. So what we did was we installed our UV sterilizer here right on the side in line. So I just cut this 1-inch pond line and put the in and then the out, and then that connects directly to our return line manifold. So hopefully that sterilizer will help to clear up the algae, and we'll get clear water out here in the greenhouse. Always something new, always something exciting out in the greenhouse. I must say I'm pretty happy with all of these tubs and all of the fish that are in all of these tubs. I wish I could see the fish, but well, again, we'll just have to wait for the water to clear up. So the water it's warming up. It's not quite tropical temperatures, but it's staying pretty warm out at night, and especially with the greenhouse, it's not exposed to the air at night. So it is staying pretty warm in here, and I'm pretty confident all of these fish will make it throughout the entire summer out here in the greenhouse. So the goal is to rebuild the fish room in time to bring these fish back indoors. But for now, I think they've got a pretty cool place and more space to hang out. So let's head back inside.
All right, and that's gonna do it for this week's video. I know, it's a big change, and it might be tough to swallow, but there are a lot of exciting things on the horizon for this channel. It's just one of those things, you know, you have to build it in order to learn from it, in order to build it better. And I've just been here for 5 years with a lot of really great ideas on how to make it better and no space to make it better. So now that we have the greenhouse outdoors and all of the fish can flourish out there for the entire summer, it frees us up to be able to make really big and really drastic changes down here in the basement. I'm committed to fish, and turtles and now aquatic newts and all kinds of other things, and I want to collect a lot of those species and house them in this new fish room that we're going to build together on this channel. If you like this idea, if you like the fact that I'm completely tearing things apart and causing total chaos, hit the like button because that's the only way I'm gonna know that I made the right decision to completely tear apart a part of my life that's been sitting in this basement for 5 years. I think it's all gonna work out for the better. It's just going to take a while in order to put all of the pieces back together. And hopefully I can share that entire process with you guys on this channel. So that's what we're gonna do. That's the focus for the entire summer, is going to be rebuilding this fish room, making it more efficient, making it more compact, fitting more tanks, more water, in the fish room in a way that I'm going to get more enjoyment out of, in a way that I'm going to be able to breed more fish and look at and house new species. So if everything works out the way it does in my mind, I think this is going to be a really exciting change, and I just can't wait to dig in and get building. Because if you know me, you know that I love building things. DIY is near and dear to my heart, and everything that I'm doing down here is going to be DIY from the ground up. We are going to clean this floor, clean slate, and build up from the floor. So that's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long journey, but I hope you'll come along with me for the entire thing. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this week's video. Again, make sure to hit the like button if you like what I'm doing down here, and if you want to help support this channel, you can always go check out myaquariumbox.com and betaoasis.com. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.
Hello, Polly Dog. Did you go to daycare today? Did you see all kinds of doggies there? Did you have fun? Huh? You don't like the camera? I have to talk to your agent. Is that your mom? Okay, I'll talk to her. Good dog.